It's often the case that music publishing and production companies have more power than you think, and sometimes even more power than the composers and the musicians themselves. That is definitely the case in the piece we're going to talk about today, and that would be Schubert's G major impromptu. Now, if some of you are a little more versed in classical music, you might be saying like, wow, this guy's an idiot. Schubert didn't write a G major impromptu. There's a G flat major impromptu. Exactly. Now, Franz Schubert did in fact write this in the key of G flat. And he even sent this piece to the publishers in the key of G flat. But you see, the thing is that Schubert's music was often played in the home. Schubert's music would be used for like family gatherings, maybe his songs, you have a piano part and a singer play together. That's really where lots of his music found its niche during his lifetime. And the publishers thought, 6 flats, man. Like, really, Schubert? You wrote something in 6 flats? So the publishers decided to do Schubert a favor and transpose it to the key of G. So the first edition of this was in the key of G major. This really was published as Schubert's Impromptu, number 3 from the first set, in G major, which is also kind of funny because all the impromptus are in flat. So it's the only one that would have been published in the key of 1 sharp. But way more funny than that is the publishers were trying to do Schubert a favor. They thought people are going to get to the store. They're going to open this book up and say, I can't play that, 6 flats, and close it. And the publishers might have been right to a certain degree. It might have scared off some people just seeing 6 flats. To this day, there are some of you who open a piece and decide whether or not you want to play it, depending on if it has 4, 5, or 6 sharps or 4, 5, or 6 flats. But the real irony is this piece is actually easier in the key of G flat. It's easier to play in G flat than it is in the key of G. I think this is actually a concept that people still struggle with today. They say, oh, there's a lot of black keys. This piece is harder. Or there are a lot of black keys. The B major or the F sharp major or the C sharp or the D flat major scales are harder because they have more black keys. And the basic premise of this is it's absolutely not true. When you first play piano, maybe you first learned piano on only the white keys, depending on your method and your teachers. You might have been stuck on mostly white keys for years. So you have in your head that the black keys are more difficult because it takes more going back and forth. There's nothing further from the truth, and this is a great example of why that's so. So to demonstrate this, I'm going to go back to measure 1 and put it back in the key of G flat and just watch how relaxed my hand looks doing this in G flat. There's no issues with me trying to reach around black keys to get to a white key. The black keys right here. There's no issue with me picking up an extra white key on the sides when you play white keys. Sometimes you play cracks because you miss a little bit. But in this piece, Schubert wrote lots of this in such a way where you don't have to worry about that. You're just floating across the top of the keys. There is a white key here, but it's kind of in the middle. Now contrast that to the key of G. This part is particularly awkward here at measure 9 and 10. We get this. This is fine, but then this ends up being a big jump, again, to a white key where you have to be a little more careful. When it was on a black key, see how easy of a reach that is? Now on the white key combination, putting my forefinger here and then reaching around C, because I have to reach around the C to play the D, is actually a lot harder. This on the black keys is easy. I can barely reach down the white keys because, again, I'm forced to avoid the 2 white keys in the middle. Don't be afraid of the black keys. I just noticed this is so prevalent in my students. Even once you get more advanced, they're just like, well, this section's harder because there's more black keys. And just like those publishers a couple hundred years ago, it may look a little harder. It could be a little harder to read, But once you know it and you know it on the black keys, it's almost always simpler to play black keys. I always say that if I had the chance to win $1 million and I had to play a scale without missing a single note, I would pick B or D flat. Those are the two scales that utilize all 5 black keys. They only have a couple white keys. And they're much easier to play because you just know where those notes are. You don't have to worry about any white key combinations. You don't have to worry about white keys next to each other. You don't have to cross your thumb under to a white key. You're just on the black keys, and you pick up, depending on what scale you're playing, you pick up a few white keys here and there. But the other big takeaway is actually kind of a challenge for all of you, because I think this is an area where lots of piano players are really, really, really bad. They just read notes. They just look at a note and they play it, and that's all they know. They don't have any skills with transposition. But if you're able to learn maybe just 4 measures, maybe 8 measures, maybe the first page, try to do what those publishers did. See if you can go through this in different keys. So the original would be our G flat major. And if you needed to, maybe go in order for right now. But as you get better, you can kind of like challenge yourself by picking random ones. Like, what if I do the key of B? Wish me luck. So kind of the 3 main ways you could look at this is try to do it by intervals. That would probably be the most basic way if you've never done this before. Maybe just try to go up by a half step and shift everything up by a half step. There's still a lot of benefit in that. You could also try to do it by chords and harmony. Like, this is a 1 chord. This is a 4 chord. So what would a 1 chord be in the key of, D major? It's actually a 6. Then a 2. Then a 5. 1. So you can do it that way too. And then the third way would be to try to use your ear to do it. I wouldn't encourage you to start that. That would be, I would say, if you're kind of getting the other 2, just challenge yourself to see if your ear can kind of guide you to what note comes next. So hopefully you have a little bit of a new appreciation for Schubert's G flat impromptu and how composers sometimes write things in flats because they're trying to be nice, because it's actually easier in the flat keys. And then if you want some bonus challenges, see if you can take a piece like this. This is a great one because it's so kind of chord based to try to transpose something, kind of up your piano skills in a more unconventional way, not just starting a new piece of music. You can do it with the piece you're already playing, obviously, but not just like, oh, I want to get better, let me just do a new piece of music. But try this challenge. See if you can take a piece you already have, or maybe this piece here, and see if you can shift it to a new key. Thank you so much for checking out this video. Hope you guys are already subscribed to the channel. I'll see you guys in a future video.